Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo Talk Center, episode 21. I am Don. With me today is Cal, as per normal. We apologize for skipping last week. The thing is, the Bills and the Sabres were equally uh, making us depressed. So there was just going to be a lot of complaining and belly aching. So it was best we don't spew our nonsense onto the airstreams. But we are back this week. Kale, I know you are incredibly excited to talk about the 2-3 Buffalo Sabres. Yes, they have rallied since their 0-3 start to the year. They've knocked off two playoff teams, two divisional rival playoff teams, the Ottawa Senators and the Ottawa Senators and the Florida Panthers. Yes. Cal, what was the just biggest takeaway from these two matchups?
I would say Alex Lyon. I think Alex Lyon has been an absolute savior for this team. It's his not to lose at this point. When UPL gets healthy, he's immediately going to be our backup because Alex Lyon has just played elite every single game, right? It is the Lions' den until the UPL proves that he's better than him, and I don't know if that's going to happen. Lyon has been incredible this year every single game, right? I don't think there's been a game so far this season where he's been on my negatives. I think every game he's been a positive. And, coming off a shutout, he is just on an absolute roll. I know they said they wanted to get the backup Ellison, and that'd be funny. Having an Ellis. You got Matt Ellis on the bench, but I think it's Alex Lyon until UPL can serve as the backup. I see no reason. I know we got an upcoming back to back against the Leafs, so maybe that's when Ellis gets a start if UPL is not ready. But he's definitely been my biggest positive throughout the season so far.
Absolutely. He just picked up a shutout win, his fifth of his career against the Panthers, his first with the Sabres. And you're right. Even in that New York game, you got to see him up close and personal, and the Colorado game. He was very rock solid, even with the team struggling in front of him. He was making this routine saves, the saves you expect a goalie. And that's been something that was lacking in UPL last season, right? You just couldn't bet on him making all of the saves that should be getting stopped. His goals saved was way below what it should have been in terms of his analytics, his goals expected. He was, what, 30th in the league, 32nd? I mean, he was just downright awful last year. Totally unreliable. Alex Line, he's been the exact opposite, and his stats mirror that. He's got a 2.43 goals against average as of the time of this recording. He's got the one shutout, of course, and 929 save percentage. Now, I don't think either of us expect him maintaining that sort of stat line over the course of the season, but in terms of a backup goaltender that Kevin Adams brought in just in case something was wrong with UPL, this signing could not have gone better for Buffalo.
Yeah, he's been an absolute savior. I think in that Panthers shutout, I saw something where the expected goals for the Panthers was around 4 to 5 goals, and to shut that out was incredible. Of course, I know we're going to get into this later. Penalties, the penalty kill has been the other thing that's been 1-2 Alex Lyon and the penalty kill, keeping the Sabres in it this season. The Sabres, if they're not, playing 5-on-5, they're on the penalty kill about 80% of the time because it feels like every 3 minutes they take a penalty this season. And whether that's, them being undisciplined or them not getting the right calls. I know a couple of times there's been some delay of game calls where, I was at that one game where there's a clear delay of game call, they don't get it, and then flip flop, we take a delay of game that got tipped off a stick. Whatever, it is what it is. The refs like to even them out, but this penalty kill's been absolutely electric. It seems, that seems to be a big spark that this team lacks 5-on-5. When they have the penalty kill and they kill it off, they play, rock solid for the next 2 to 3 minutes until they take another penalty, right? But
Hmm.
that's been the biggest issue. We've seen some too many men calls, and whether that's a coaching issue or again just undisciplined, I think it'll even itself out. Again, keep in mind a lot of new players on this team. They got to get used to playing with each other. They're shuffling the lines up. The injuries have taken a toll on this team. So once the Sabres get those injured guys back, Greenway coming back, Kesselring coming back, and they start getting some lines set in place, I think those penalties start to decrease little by little when they get, that sense of familiarity.
Yeah, absolutely. And one big stat is that Connor Timmins has blocked 6 shots so far on the penalty kill. I think that leads the NHL. And don't look now, but the Buffalo Sabres currently have the best ranked penalty kill in the entire league. They are killing off penalties at a 95% rate. Obviously, that's going to go down as the season drags on, but that's currently first in the NHL. And of course, you're getting those saves from Lyon. But you're right, the Sabres are taking too many penalties. I will say I streamed the Sabres Panthers game, and some of those calls were just really tough.
Mhm.
For instance, how did Brad Marchand? He ripped off the helmet and stole it from Rasmus Dahlin, broke it. How did he not get a game misconduct? And yet, in the third period, when there's a routine scrum, the Sabres pick up an extra call for against Matthias Samuelsson for no apparent reason. He was just jumping into the scrum like a normal NHL play, and it was just kind of bizarre. Some really weird calls coming from the referees. Like you said, I think this will even itself out. I do gotta say, 2 games in, Zach Benson has not been called for a phantom penalty yet. Yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But speaking of Zach Benson, though, he has been an absolute godsend since returning to the lineup from his facial injury. Uh, did you expect this from the little guy, Benny the Butcher? Did you really think he'd have 5 assists to open the year, been a dog each and every shift he's out there?
I didn't expect the success he has had so far, but I did expect him to provide a spark, right? We know he's going to give 110% every single shift, and that's what he's done. And he's been in the right spot at the right time. He's collected those points. He's on pace for, like you said, a crazy amount of points so far this season. And I know a lot of Sabres fans online are, kind of Zach Benson haters. I've seen this trend kind of over the last year, and it really doesn't make sense to me. I absolutely love watching Zach Benson play. Sure, is he a little undersized? Is his reach, not of course, because he's shorter, right? So sometimes he's in the corner and he can't reach for the puck. Fine. But he's going to give you every single ounce of energy that he has. He gets involved in scrums. He's in front of the net. He's an energy guy. And if he keeps putting up points like this, what is not to like about Zach Benson? So I really don't understand why people don't like Zach Benson. Again, him and Doan so far as a duo, both of them on the ice at the same time has been electric. So maybe there's a little bit of hope for this group of Sabres. I continue to say it, right? The more and more healthy this group gets, the more and more opportunities they will have to, start climbing up the standings. And they have to maintain 500 hockey until they get fully healthy if they want to win. And right now, they're starting to climb back up to it.
Yeah, they've dug themselves into a massive hole, but is it any coincidence, folks, that right when Zach Benson returns, the Sabres bounce back. They win 2 games on the spin. They are scoring goals like crazy. 11 now in their past 2 games after only scoring 2 in the opening 3 games. Um, Zach Benson's energy has been electric. He is forechecking like crazy. And to the haters out there, I never understood it. Last season, the year before, Zach Benson was one of the most. He was the biggest surprises. He was defensively strong for a 19-year-old. He's going into these scrums. His retrieval skills are fantastic. His win rate on getting the puck from the boards and pushing the puck forward, breaking it out, he's got to be out there. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm sure there's measurements for it somewhere out there behind a paywall, but just watching the game, Benson wins these 50-50 puck battles. He's a great retriever. He's a bloodhound. And Josh Doan, similar situation. He is already, I think, gonna be he is a fan favorite. I think he's fantastic. He finally got rewarded with a couple of goals against Florida. Do you think is it too soon to say that the Sabres won the Paterka trade? Is it too soon?
Uh, Definitely too soon. You know me, I'm a big Paterka guy, so
Mm.
maybe I'm a little bit biased, but again, I think JJ Paterka is going to be a fantastic player in this league. Said some questionable things in a post game interview, so I think he's going to get
Yep.
some boos when he comes back to Buffalo, which it's valid, it's fine. But I think JJ Paterka is a way better player than Doan overall, right? Goal scoring offensively. I don't think there's any debate to that. But is Doan going to give you more energy? Is Doan going to give you more effort? Is Doan maybe going to be the better player for this group of guys on this team? Very possible. Then you get Kesselring, and I cannot wait for Kesselring. And it's not only because, Kesselring's skill. It's none of that, right? It's to get Owen Power a defensive partner for the first time in his career. Let's see what Owen Power can do. That goal against Florida, again, he shows these little glimpses where he goes in the offensive zone. He's in the right spot at the right time. And you're like, where has that been the last 3 years? If you get him a defensive partner like Kesselring, I cannot wait to see what Owen Power is capable of. He seems a little bit more physical this year too. So he's right on the edge of kind of flipping that switch and going to the next level. And also the Sabres defensive depth, although it was supposed to be good this year, has not been all that good. I know you mentioned Connor Timmins with the block shots on the penalty kill. I have not liked Connor Timmins. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I think he's been the worst player on the ice at all times this season. He seems out of place. He has some good breakout passes, but he reminds me of what Jacob Bryson was like 2 years ago, where every time he touched the puck, you're like, oh, come on, get off the ice, like it's just full panic mode with him. And I know it's a new spot and he's, a fringe NHL player. It is what it is. But if that could bump him out of the lineup, I'm even more excited. Jacob Bryson, I know got hurt, so he might be the odd man out at this point. But I'm very, very excited for Kesselring. And if Doan and Kesselring can provide, a spark to this team and, bump them up a level, maybe it was a winning trade with the combination of those two players for JJ Peterka. But in my opinion, it's way too early. And I think JJ Peterka is going to go on to be a multi-time all-star in this league.
I don't see why Josh Doan cannot. Look, I'm going to disagree with you here. I think Josh Doan, he's
Okay.
already got 5 points this year. He had 2 goals
Mm,
against Florida. He just brings an energy level that I don't think Paterka ever brought. And
mm,
Doan is defensively way more responsible than Paterka. And I've
mm,
seen a lot of Sabres fans, they've been dissing Paterka as he goes out the door, and maybe he's heard some of his criticisms here from Saberland that,
mm.
oh, he's defensively irresponsible, he doesn't back check, he brought a negative and toxic energy to the locker room. In terms of fits, in terms of what Josh Doan has been bringing early on thus far, he's been a constant spark, constant positivity. He's been nothing short of a revelation, I think, for the Sabres. When he was initially brought in, I thought he was going to be a third, fourth liner.
Yeah.
The way he's been playing through the first 5 games, he's been consistent as hell. He looks like he can be a valid top 6 forward. Uh, and I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. Look, if you, and maybe I don't want to give Kevin Adams too much credit here, but maybe he saw something we
Yeah.
didn't. Look, Kevin, I'm still gonna pray that you get fired, but maybe this was not as bad of a trade as we all thought it was. Um,
Yeah.
in terms of the Connor Timmins discourse, I'm again gonna slightly disagree with it. I don't totally disagree that he's been good, that he's been bad. He's especially his a couple of moments through the first 3 games of the year. He was, like you said, rickety. He looked like Connor Clifton out there, the
Yep.
exact player we traded away to
Mm,
get him. But I just think that part of it is due to him being pushed further up the lineup than he was originally envisioned. Especially with the injury to Michael Kesselring. Connor Timmins is not
yeah.
a top 4 defenseman. He should not be playing top 4 minutes. That's what he's currently doing. And at least maybe he's just so tired too, after playing what 7.5 minutes on the penalty kill each night, that
Yeah.
5 on 5 he's just trying to get the puck out, just get the puck out, flip it away. We're not going to keep possession. Just F it. Someone's got to be up ice somewhere. So I think those 2 reasons are partly why Connor Timmins hasn't exactly been great. And unfortunately for you, he's going to have to keep playing, especially with that
Mm,
injury to Jacob Bryson. As of the time of this recording, we do not know yet how significant Bryson's injury is. And my goodness, the injuries are just continuing to pile up for this team. Thank God the Sabres
yeah.
brought in a new director of health and development or whatever, right? Brian Gallivan.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm so glad he's doing his job. But let me finish my point about the defense first before we start bitching
mm.
about the injuries. Uh, it's pretty simple. You get Kesselring back. You get Power with him. I think Power's looked surprisingly good. He's
Mhm.
physical in front of the net. He's tying sticks up. He doesn't look like quicksand in his own zone. His positioning's been okay. It's so weird. It's so weird. Is he actually flipping the narrative and making that jump like you mentioned? I don't know. But I think we should talk about injuries now because that's a major concern. Cal, have you heard anything?
Yeah, so it seems like Greenway will return. And again, you guys are probably watching this on Monday tonight. Greenway will make his triumphant return to the lineup. I know we've had our fair share of discourse about Jordan Greenway. He can't stay healthy, but when he is healthy, he is a great player for this lineup. A tougher guy who could use his body. He can win those corner battles. Can play in front of the net. You could shove him on the second power play unit if you want and put him in front of the net. He's a good penalty killer as well. Not that we need another one of those, but with Justin Danforth injured, who I'll talk about next, we might. Danforth, he's going to be out for long term, which Again, maybe we had to sacrifice our best player to win games. I get it. It is what it is. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's true.
Danforth probably gone. We know Josh Norris. He is going to be pretty much out for the year. Maybe he'll return for playoffs. Not going to happen, but that would be kind of when he would return towards the end of the season. There, some other minor injuries. UPL, like I said, continuing to ramp it up, should be good by the end of the week. There's a chance he goes down on the Amherst to make a couple rehab starts just because he hasn't played since the preseason. They probably want to get him a little bit of action. We will see. Other than that, the Sabres are finally starting to get healthy, right? We saw Benson back in the lineup. We already mentioned him still wearing that bandage by his lip. And, you could tell that black eye had that infection. So I'm sure that will linger with the full face shield for at least another week or two. But I think he should probably just keep wearing that because he looks really good. And, maybe he feels a little bit safer, right? As a little guy, he joins all those scrums. Maybe with that full face shield, he just feels a little bit safer and can play a little bit harder than he already usually does. I don't know. But the last point I want to make about the injuries is they're going to continue, right? We have a group of guys who play under this Lindy Ruff system where it's, dump and chase, use your body, physicality, block shots. You're going to have a lot of injuries when you play like that. And we saw the Panthers 2 years in a row. They kind of play like that too, but they have a few more star players that can get the offense going a little bit more. But they play that tough, gritty style. It's finally caught up to them in year 3 of the Stanley Cup run. So them going back to back to back would be really hard with all the long-term injuries they have. But they managed to do it for 2 years, right? And every time somebody got injured, next man up, and they still won the cup, and they got him back for the playoffs. So that's kind of the Sabres mold. That's what they're going to have to follow in. These injuries, you're going to have next man up, next man up. And Kevin Adams, please, next time we have an injury, can we please call someone up from the Amerks that has a little bit of offensive skill? Please, please, please. We keep wasting. Again, this has been a problem for how many years now? 5, 6 years, where we clog the scratches in the fourth line with guys who should not be at the NHL level. Geertsen, an example of somebody who should not be blocking development roles for Rosian, Hellenius. These guys need to get to the NHL. Again, Metza gets called up and then doesn't play, which it's fine, whatever. But like Tyson Kozak, fine. He's a fourth line center. It is what it is. Beck Malenstein gives effort. He's the best of the 3 goofballs that we got last year. But again, you got guys in the AHL, and you huddle up and you gather these prospects like they're Pokemon, and then you just do not play them in the NHL level. It's ridiculous. We keep clogging this fourth lineup. Sam Lafferty, Abe Kubal last year. It seems we got the same thing with Geertsen, who skates around like a doofus and tries to fight everyone, and they laugh in his face because they know the only reason he's on this roster is to fight, and they're not going to take the bait. We saw what Matt Rempe did. I saw it in person. He went up to him a couple times, patted him on the shoulder, said, "I ain't dealing with that." So again, nothing against Geertsen, but he's not an NHL player. Stop taking these pivotal opportunities for these AHL guys. Stop taking them away for guys who should not be in the NHL. Again, me and you, we both are entirely in the favor that Kevin Adams should be fired. But at the same time, me and you both want to see him succeed, because if he succeeds, that means the Sabres succeed. So wouldn't it be poetic if Kevin Adams just flips the script? The Sabres make the playoffs this year, and he's our hero, kind of like Tyrod Taylor was and Sean McDermott. I'll continue to bring up the Bills in comparison, because the Bills say that Sean McDermott doesn't break the drought. I don't think a single person likes him, but right now he gets the benefit of the doubt, even though he loses the close games, because he got us out of the drought. Tyrod
Mm-hmm.
Taylor will always be remembered as a great Bills quarterback. Why? Because he broke the drought. Kevin Adams has the opportunity to do the same thing, right? Save face and make the playoffs on the drought. He'll forever be my hero. I'll probably buy a Carolina Hurricanes Kevin Adams jersey if that happens and wear it proudly everywhere I go. I think that's all it takes, and he's got one last shot to do it this year, and I don't know. Maybe it happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, the inner thoughts of a ranting man, okay?
Yeah, got to go
Oh,
off.
oh yeah. All right. So I'm gonna try to break that down. All right.
Mm,
I'll start off with the injuries here again. GOAT Brian Gallivan, new development coach.
yep.
Thank God he got brought in, and all these injuries have ensued. I'm sure it's work. It's clearly working.
Oh, yeah.
But to your point about Kevin Adams, I would love for him to succeed. As much as we boo him, as much as we chant at fire Adams, we want him to succeed. That means the Sabres are in the playoffs. Now, there's a yin and a yang with that. If the Sabres succeed, that means a guaranteed 5 more years of Kevin Adams, and I don't know if I can do that. A whole decade of Kevin Adams.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Oh, we're over halfway to that goal. Okay, Terry Pegula, he wants stability. He's got it right now with crappy general manager who's gun shy. But in terms of guys blocking the development path for prospects, it's a huge problem. So someone asked Lindy Ruff earlier in the week during one of these press conferences, what's the idea of calling up guys like Geertsen or Josh Dunn
Mhm.
or Zach Metza? I almost forgot his name for a second. Uh,
Yeah.
and he goes, yeah, timing wise, we just thought it'd be better to bring those guys up than maybe Isaac Rosean or Consta Hellenius, which just kills me. How many years now has Isak Rosén been in Rochester? This is what his third year. Usually
Third, I think. Yeah.
we saw with guys like Paterka or Kulik or Jack Quinn, it was 2 years in Rochester and they get the call up. Rosén, he had some invisible moments last year and a couple cameos, but that's because he's playing on the fourth line. Maybe the Sabres just don't want to throw one of their prospects into the bottom six, give them a bottom six role, play them that amount, the corresponding amount of minutes. But Geertsen, Dunn, even Kozak to a certain degree, they don't give you any goals. What is the
Mhm.
positive aspect of bringing those guys in? I would much rather see Isak Rosén get third line minutes, being called up, playing with some skilled guys, versus wasting time with Geertsen. And like you said, Geertsen is out there headhunting. He got a 10-minute misconduct against the Florida Panthers for being an idiot. I don't know
Yeah.
what he brings to this team. No, actually, I do know what he brings to this team. That's Lindy Ruff's. Oh, we're gonna put the fourth line enforcers out there. Go find your Chris Neal. Let's start a big old fight, guys. We're
Yeah.
gonna show the league we're better than last year. We're tough again. This is Sabres. We're making Sabres great again. And it's like, no, you're wasting time. The guy has gone out there, and I think he's got what, 7 minutes each night, 9 penalty minutes or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Geertsen, because he can't move, he can't skate, he can't shoot, he can't pass, puts his team in awful positions. That's partly where these penalties are coming from. Josh Dunn has been taking penalties. Geertsen was taking penalties. It's just idiocy. So I think it's not everything. Not we can't blame everything on these AHLers that are getting call ups, but it's certainly not helping. Let's get a guy like Isak Rosén into the lineup and play him with Ryan McLeod, and I want to see what this guy can do. At worst, you improve his trade value. At best, you have another capable forward in your lineup. What's the
Yeah.
problem with doing that?
Yeah, and I get you want to be tougher to play against. Fine, make your fourth line tougher guys like a Wilson, around the league, or someone with a little bit of offensive upside but can throw their body around. Even a Beck Malenstein. Fine, I get it if you don't want to call these prospects up, but we have to stop hoarding the prospects. If you want a third and fourth line full of tougher guys, at least get some that can score and trade those prospects who are never going to see the ice time for the Sabres because you refuse to let them play. Trade them for better versions of Geertsen, better versions of Kozak, better versions of Josh Dunn, right? Like if you can get better versions of these guys, all of a sudden there's no complaints, right? We watched that fourth line against the Panthers. Boom, 3 hip checks on the boards and it sparks some energy. But you go in Monday night with that fourth line against a Montreal Canadiens team that's full of youth and speed. They are going to get tossed and turned around, right? Like Montreal's going to score 5 goals on that line because they're going to be odd man rushes every time they're out there, and they play like again 5 to 7 minutes a night. That's embarrassing. No other team does that. So again, if you want that to be your identity, and again, it should have been done last season when Lindy Ruff adopted a team that was full of players that were the complete opposite of what he should be coaching. Again, they do the same thing and they bring in these buffoons on the fourth line who cannot play hockey. And we're at the point where it's that time again where we got to look at down at the AHL roster and say, oh wow, the Amherst are winning 7-3 every night, 8-3 every night. Goaltending looks okay, defense looks okay, and these top 2 lines on the forwards looks like they should all be in the NHL. And you refuse to call them up. Trade them for bigger pieces, some physicality guys on that bottom 6 that can score goals. And if you do that, I will have no complaints. Even if you lose each and every one of those trades, keep in mind those guys are never going to see the ice anyway. If you
Yeah.
want to trade Hellenius, which I absolutely don't think they should do, to go get a third line center who is a fringe second line center who's a really good player, sure, do it. If you want to trade Isak Rosen for 2 fourth liners who are better than what you have, sure, do it. As long as these guys are getting reps for this team, anything's better than letting them rot in the AHL. And I don't understand Kevin Adams' fascination with the Amherst being good every year. Are we trying to win the call? Like, what are we trying to win every year? Are we trying to win in the AHL or are we trying to win in the NHL? Because it seems like we've gotten all these prospects, and since Kevin Adams has taken over, we let them rot in the AHL.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know if you saw Isak Rosén. He spoke to some reporter not too long ago, and he was like, "Look, this season, I'm going to prove the guys in Buffalo wrong. They should not have kept me down here. I should be at the NHL, and you know what? I'm going to use that fire into my belly and perform even better than last season." And he was still pretty good. And Isak Rosén so far this year in Rochester, he's looked fantastic. And I mean, that's okay, but you don't want that to breed animosity. You don't want that to breed jealousy or any some of these toxic traits that we've seen go through KeyBank Center over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get. If you're trying to win now, win now. Use the best possible players. The Bills, for all the grief we've been giving them recently, they've always, when they make personnel decisions, there we go. Finally, could find the words. Whenever they make roster decisions, their underlying theme, their dogma is best player available. That should be the Sabres' thought process as well. Instead of looking for, oh, well, Geertsen is down. We're going to need another enforcer. Let's call up Zach Metza. Like, no, no, don't do that. Let's bring in some scoring punch. Make that third line even dangerous. If you have a third line hole, say Jack Quinn goes down for an injury. You're gonna replace him with an enforcer? Another big tough guy? You're gonna call up Dalton Smith or Brett Murray again? No!
Yeah.
Isak Rosén is waiting. Hellenius is waiting. A couple of these other guys are starving for NHL action, especially with some of our better guys up here in the big club. So it just doesn't make any sense. I hope that improves as we go on. I get part of Lindy Ruff's thought process, though, that the timing's not exactly going to work out. Because if theoretically, if you want a prospect to succeed, you're going to call them up and you hope they're here for a while. You don't want them playing
Yeah.
4 minutes one night and then getting sent back down immediately. But it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. Jordan Greenway, like you said, is probably going to come back Monday, but we still have a hole with Josh Norris. We still have a hole elsewhere on the defense until Michael Kesselring gets back and now Jacob Bryson. I just don't understand some of the thought process. I don't understand setting down Ryan Johnson in favor of Zach Metza. I just don't. Like Johnson, yes, wasn't great, but how is Metza going to improve upon that play in any way? He's not. Chances are he won't.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and Josh Norris's injury is going to be a theme of the season, I think. Can you replace his offensive ability? Because we don't really know what Norris was going to give us. He looked great in preseason, but who knows what he does in the regular season? Can one of these young guys come up and fill that glaring gap in the Sabres lineup so they don't have to make two moves at the trade deadline, which they won't because they never do. But
Hmm.
they have that giant hole right now where you're like, oh man, if they were just one player away, we might be good. We've had this issue year after year after year. This is the perfect opportunity. Again, there's nothing wrong about the timing. Perfect opportunity to call up Hellenius or Rosén. Fill Josh Norris's role on this team. Score goals, offense. We don't care about your defense. Score goals, offense. Why have we not done that? Right? They call up Josh Dunn. They keep Geertsen on the roster for the injury. These guys are not going to replace his scoring. They're not going to replace his offense. Doan has done a great job of right now filling that gap, right? He's getting power play minutes, and we've already talked about all that he provides to this team, but he is another godsend that we got in the offseason that has managed to fill the gaps temporarily. But is Doan going to keep getting 2 power play goals a game? No. Like we said, is Zach Benson going to continue to get, average 3 assists a game? No. So you're going to have to get a guy with an offensive mindset eventually up here, or you're going to have to make a trade. And one of the two things has to happen relatively soon because this team cannot afford to go 5 games under 500. They're going to get a little bit healthier, but by the time they get guys like Norris back and guys who are out the entire season, it's going to be too late, right? So you have to get to 500 now. You have to get ahead while you can, get these prospects up, win all the games you can, because at the end of the season, it's going to be close if these analytical guys are right, and you're going to need those points that you just threw away because a throwaway. And I'll compare it to baseball, right? Baseball, there's double the games, but they have these things where they call them throwaway games, where you put, we're going to give our best players a rest today. They just played 5 games in a row. and you end up losing 6-2 or whatever, and you waste a day your pitcher, but you're playing your backup center fielder, backup second baseman, backup first baseman, whatever it is. You can't afford to do that in the NHL, especially if you're a team that's on the outside looking in. The Sabres cannot afford these throwaway games. You have to throw everything you got into each and every game, especially the way the season is this year. It's a little more spaced out because you have the Olympic break. It goes a little bit longer. You have to throw everything you got into each and every game. And so far, I don't think the Sabres have done that. And, their first 3 games were a clear example. If they had a little bit more talent, they probably would have got a point against Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the Sabres right now, just trying to survive, get yourself out of this hole. And I feel like we've been complaining a lot, and it's interesting. We just won, the Sabres have won 2 in a row. We'll see what happens this week against Montreal, Detroit, Toronto twice. These are going to be some huge games coming up for this team. But it's not been overall doom and gloom as we saw in the first week of the season when everybody was piling on the Sabres. Like, oh, if this doesn't get better right now, guys are going to get traded. Thompson's going to get traded. Dahlin's going to request a trade. Tuck is not going to sign. And it's going to be absolute apocalyptic scenes in Buffalo, folks. I mean, I think of Jeff Marek or Spin Chickless, the typical guys that
Yeah.
like to harp and crap on the Sabres. And it's been a little more positive, folks, but believe us, we're not even close to where we could be or should be. We should be where Detroit is right now, 4-1, 8 points, leading the division. Sabres aren't there because of self-inflicted wounds. And we go back to terrible call-up decisions, poor penalty taking decisions. It's just some of these issues that the Sabres have to remedy going forward because even though at the time of this recording they have won 2 in a row, this team is by no means perfect at all or even close to a playoff level team. So yeah, I guess that's Cal gonna do it for episode 21. We thank you folks for if you're still watching, for looking at us, staring at us, foaming at the mouths as we talk about the Sabres. Be like, I want more content. And yeah, we appreciate that. I'm Don. This is Cal. This is Buffalo Talk Center. I'm Buffalo Sports Center. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, join the Discord. All of those links are down in the description box below. And Cal, I guess we'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.